Okay. Okay. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Dr. Towns, for organizing the workshop. It's great to see big names, like I said, and a lot of us when we started off with those journals, ACTA, Journal of Contemporary Management, and it was a good space to actually get feedback with your work. And there's still good journals as such. I think Darlington, you've got some stuff there in ACTA. Eh? Is it Bramwell? One of you? Yeah, it's Bramwell. Yeah, and it's great to see that we've got stuff going on and people are getting all the attention to come and work with us. So we're going to talk this morning about trends and really things that you should be aware of as you embark on an academic career. It's actually phrased like for early career, but it's also all career stages. You need all these tips and issues that we're going to discuss. We're going to discuss about 7 trends that are shaping academic writing and the career as an academic. And there are 2 ways I want to do this. The first way is to just go through some basic things that are happening internationally. And then we go into the most crucial part, which are the trends themselves. There are 7 of them. Who knows, next year there'll be 14, 15. You never know, they keep coming. And maybe some will be demoted. Maybe we'll get to a part where we don't need certain trends. We will say this one is not relevant anymore. Okay, so let's start. Academic writing is not easy. It's probably the most isolating experience ever I've gone through, because you get to work on this thing called a manuscript for days and days and days and days on end. And like yesterday, we submitted something to Journal of Management Development about 4 months ago. So we were waiting, and then so they notify you at each stage of the process. So they notified us. First reviewer has submitted reviews. The second reviewer, all your reviews are in. I said, okay, anytime soon. And then yesterday they wrote back to us and they rejected the paper. So yeah, that's 4 months waiting, and it could be longer for some. So what then happens is that the waiting period creates this despondency. I mean, imagine you are waiting for that. Christmas is what, in a few weeks' time, eh? And somebody has sent a Christmas card and it never arrives. And then it only arrives the following year. Yeah. So the first thing I just want to also reiterate to colleagues is that it's not easy. It's the most isolating experience ever. And it's also made worse by the fact that academics, we are not patient people. Yeah, we are not patient people. I did a workshop last week, and we were talking about a practice which has become very prevalent, where people submit the same article to 5 journals at the same time. And I'm like, so why are you doing that? It says, no, it's simple. Whoever responds first with the positive feedback gets the article. And it's not ethical, by the way. Yeah, you're not allowed to do that. Then somebody then stood up in the workshop and said, well, it's like you've got 5 people who are interested in you. You just throw your CV out to all 5. Whoever fancies the is the one. But we go through all of that, and I want to say that one of the things we should talk about, Dr. Towns, a little bit later on maybe, is how do you create a pipeline? Now, a lot of you were talking about anxiety around what next year holds, and I want to write, and so creating the pipeline is possibly the best way you can manage that anxiety. You could wait for one article, send it, and then you wait. Or you could work on 3 articles to say 2024 is about these 3 pieces of work I'm going to look at. And then I'm going to target the following journals. And then you work on timelines to say by this particular time, all the work should have gone out. And that could work. I think what we must be very honest about as academics, we need to be also clever about how we do this. And somebody called it a game. And I'm beginning to believe it's a game. And with a game, you must be alert. You must know the rules. You must know to bring Jeff Goldman to say, Jeff, please tell us, how do we get into ACTA? You bring Natanya Mayer. Natanya, please tell us, how do we get into general contemporary management? Not that they're going to make it easy for us, but bringing them to this platform creates this opportunity that we want to have. So that's one. So let's start by some interesting quote that I've come across here. Stephen King. To be a great writer, you must do two things. You must read a lot and write a lot. Unfortunately, this is not the case. We are writing a lot, but we are not reading. So I will ask you, when have you ever done on a lazy Sunday afternoon casual reading? I'm going to read my favorite journal of a strategic management journal. I'm going to read what are the latest articles in the journal. We only come across material when it suits our writing. And I think there's a merit there. Now, I brought a little companion with me, this little booklet. It's Pick and Pay, 30 Rand, 40 Rand. What I do in this booklet, and by the end of the year, I think I cover about 4 or 5 of them. I wherever I go, I write. I find a word that this is a nice word. You know, instead of saying, on the other hand, conversely, I'm like, wow, that's easy. One word covers and encapsulates what I want to say. So write, keep a little book like this. Sometimes inspiration comes even when you're listening to the radio. In the morning, they were talking about different types of things. Dr. Lani, Dr. Lani, Dr. Lani is going to appear in the magistrate's court today. When Viola, you've done stuff on impression management. The guy wore a stethoscope, right? And convinced you lot that he's a doctor. And people were, hey, talk to us, doctor, tell us, you know. And that's a like level of fake it till you make it, I like. Yes, you get to a stage where you're so good at, and you believe your own lies as well, you know. But anyway, he will have his day in court. We'll find out what the outcome is. Importantly, I want to also say to colleagues that we must read. Yeah, we are not reading, and I know we are not reading because a portion of you have come through me as PhD students. You know, people are not reading. Zikona looks down and sorry for flagging you out, Zikona. I'm not trying to, but we must read. Great writers are great readers. When was the last time you went to your favorite bookshop and just picked up a book to read about your topic of interest? We are assuming expert status in whatever domain that you're in. Darlington, we want you to be within the technology and innovation space. But if you're not reading with what's happening in the space, it becomes very sad. And now reading becomes crucial because on Saturday, I discovered Darlington had a piece in the Daily Dispatch. And we can talk about academics not making enough noise about what they are doing, and that's you. But he had a whole spread in the Saturday Dispatch, and I thought that was nice because how I came about it, I was reading the newspaper and I said, oh, this name sounds familiar. This is Darlington. So let's get into the habit of reading. When we read, we actually allow ourselves to be able to understand what is going on in the topic areas that we're interested in, but we also get to have this privilege and this opportunity to also be able to then make a contribution to the work that we want to do. So that's one. Let's read. Now, I want to paint a picture, which is a very difficult picture. One of the things that we all need to develop, particularly I'm talking to academics now, you are not going to get promoted as an academic, Angela, for having, I don't know, intentions of writing the best paper. You're going to get promoted when that becomes reality. So strong academic writing skills become very crucial. But those skills are not like the skills you develop in the gym. where you lift up weights and all of that. Those skills are skills that come with every experience you go through. You get knocked down, you need to get up. You get reviewers who write comments that are very, very bad, very, very below the belt. They will tell you that we wonder what the authors were thinking when they were writing this paper. So you can either do two things: pack your bags and say, this is not for me. I don't need this. I don't want people to stand in judgment of me as a person. I'm moving on. I'm out of here. Or you can just stomach it in and fight and also learn the art of the game, okay? Responding, also developing those writing skills. And that becomes important. But here's the beauty about writing. And something I've learned in the last couple of years. Writing also changes us as people. Let me say that again. Writing does not only change the communities we are writing about, blah, blah, but there's also a change that happens to us. There's a change that happens to us when you see the work that we've done receiving prominence, when you get mentioned to say this person is doing, and now I'm no longer scared of mentioning because, oh, we're too low key, we're 40. No, great work is happening at Forte. Forte is producing some amazing research that is being mentioned locally on the African continent and internationally. So I want to say one of the beauty about writing is that it changes us. And that is something that we will never get promoted on, Dr. Towns. We don't get promoted because unless we're doing personal mastery, reflection, and we can say, but we don't, it's a beautiful thing to notice how you have evolved as a writer to develop some of the skills that you've got. Writing also assists in our intellectual development. If you compare how you were writing when you were a first-year student, okay, and I'm glad I'm talking to some of you who are teaching first years. You can also laugh at their mistakes because they also reflect where you were at certain stages, it's amazing because that change is what is also crucial. But one of the other things about writing is also done within the parameter of rules. And that's why some people just hate academic writing. The referencing, the plagiarism. The big debate right now is if AI writes your paper, should AI not get authorship to the paper? And amazing things coming out of the AI space. But writing also needs to allow you to also conform to whatever rules, and that's important. One of the reasons papers get rejected is that you've not conformed to the rules. It's the worst form of rejection when the editor says it's a desktop rejection. A desktop means we're not even going to bother our reviewers. We are just going to say, we don't think you've taken enough time to think about your paper. And as a result, we're not going to take it any further. We're going to come back to some of that. So GradVita is a UK-based organization that came up with 3 points that they talk about what writing does. And I want to focus on those 3 points. They talk about writing as consisting of those 4 things: your content, your selection, your organization, and your presentation. Now, if you look at it, the last 2 are talking about layout. So your student comes to you, Prof, I can't make it to your test. I couldn't make it to your test. Here is my sick note. And the name on the student is not even clear on the sick note. What's that name? There's a popular doctor in Alice. Don't mention names. Everybody came with a sick note there, and you couldn't. So you see how organization and presentation are crucial. Take effort in actually how you present and organize your information. The first 2 really talk about your expertise, which we hope now you are developing as people who have master's degrees, PhDs, postdocs, lecturers, senior lecturers, associate profs, and full profs. And I can make those available to you through this GradVita. So we also write because of 4 reasons. I'll tell you the one which is not common, the last one, writing for the fun of it. No one wakes up at 3 a.m. and says, I just feel like writing at 3 a.m. I'm going to write. We write because we want something out of it. We write it for a career advancement, honors, master's, PhD studies. We write because of promotion and tenure. We want to know how many papers have you published. Nowadays, we're now talking about where are those journals classified. We're talking about impact factor. So we also write for funding. Okay, we just got funding with Dr. Towns, Zikona, and Angela from Codestria, 15,000 something US dollars to do a systematic literature review on a particular project we're doing. And the winning element of that project was how we wrote it. It wasn't about the diversity of the team, the beautiful faces, the Colgate smiles, and no. It was about putting words together, ideas together to say to the funder, we deserve this and this is how we're going to do it. We also write because of conveying a message to parties that matter. So let me ask a question. Who are the parties that matter? Can I tell you who they are not? They are not our own academics, me and you. Because once you've written, you're writing the next paper. We never stop. We just, okay, what's next? And I'm sorry, Angela, because we are right there. We've done, okay, we've made this one. Let's go to the next one. But the parties that matter are communities around us. For me, that's crucial. So think of the study that you're working on. There are people who probably would not have voice, who probably would not have audience into offices that your work would arrive to. During the inaugural, I shared the story of Mario, one of the entrepreneurs I met. Yeah, who probably would never meet the mayor, but brilliant young man who's got these ideas, and it takes that type of writing. So writing also is about advocacy. It's about social justice, if you like. It's about giving voices to people who probably would not have that voice. It's also speaking to issues that matter. Now, I say this cautiously because I think we must stop writing about things that don't matter and start writing about issues that matter. So things that don't matter could be issues that have, you're trying to tell us about things that we already know. There's a high crime rate in South Africa. Yeah, we know that. We've all been victims of crime, and not to lessen the impact of crime on victims, okay, because we've also been victims, but to say, how do we take that topic a little bit further to say, what do we need to do to address the issues that are crucial with regard to that particular topic? And so I want to share with you some challenges that have been noted. No, let's leave the challenges. Let's go to the trends. I think the trends are crucial. So what I came up with, which is going to be part of the presentation, are 7 trends that we need to be aware of. Unfortunately, like we said, maybe next month, the trends will be 12, 15. We could demote some. I don't know which ones we will demote, but yeah, we're going to talk about each of those trends. And I'm going to give you my own personal opinion about those trends. And I'm going to tell you how those trends have affected my career and are affecting the career of others, and what you probably need to do to manage the game better. Do you get what I'm saying? If myself and Prof. Oni have gotten burnt by this, you don't have to get burnt by this. Yeah, and I think that's the crucial part of learning from others. So let's go to the first one. And I'm also mocking these trends, some of them, because the little commentary in the comment there is my stuff. The first one you will hear a lot in the academic world with academic writing is publish or perish. And then I ask a question, have we believed a lie? Is it a lie that if you don't publish, you're going to perish? Or is it just one of those things that is just used to push us? And here's my opinion about the publish or perish mantra. One of the most crucial things that is key is the one who's publishing, the person. you as an individual. So let us try and separate the work and the worker. Yeah. You are the worker. The work is what you are producing. Anytime the work becomes more important than the worker, you're going to have problems. So what do we mean by that? Life happens. You wake up one morning, you are diagnosed with a disease. You wake up one morning, your child is sick. You wake up one morning, all sorts of things are happening, okay? And anytime then you keep on thinking, I must publish or else I'm going to perish, you're already perishing anyway. Politely, of course, politely. No, I mean that. But the publish or perish thing needs to be also guided, how we approach it. Okay, you are more than just publications. Darling, Brahmo was talking about citations. You'll see, even when they get in those citations, you won't be happy. You want more and more. Yeah, I want more citations, okay? But if citations are coming at the peril of you as a worker, as a person, how do we know it comes at the peril? If you're finding yourself disengaged from society and reality around you, you prefer to be alone and isolated, spending 3-4 days alone in a room, and it's dark, you don't even open the windows. Your mind and your body is wasting away. You're sitting there behind it. And what do we do? Energy drinks, eh? What's this eating? It's called what eating? Comfort eating. Thank you. Comfort eating. Yes, when you start eating and eating and eating because I'm going to perish. Yeah, it's not worth it. But what we need to rather be doing and channeling our spaces is to find how do we assist people to manage the balance between publishing and also living wholesome, productive lives, where you can go out there, it's a nice summer's day, and enjoy the outdoor without worrying. You know, sometimes the fear is what keeps us also awake. Your mind is telling you, you know, you should be doing something. You should be sitting and writing, but in your mind, everybody, the whole nation is watching rugby. You are locked up, writing an article, which will probably, with due respect, get rejected. And you've missed a moment in history where the Springboks have beaten number 1, number 2, the top 4 teams, hey, by 1 point. All through, and you miss that moment in history. What I'm simply saying here, yes, we must publish, but let's be very, very careful how we approach this idea of publishing at our own peril. And we perish at our own peril when we just ignore the signs around us. I laugh at some of my PhD students who come to the office, and one of them came the other day wearing a black T-shirt. And I said, hey, Chief, you could easily be a prop for the All Blacks. You know that? He says, Prof, I've been writing a lot. And the truth of the matter is he's just graduated with a PhD. He has been writing a lot. And with that, he's not had time to exercise and do that. I wish we could come to a space where we balance. That is where my contention is. But you are the only one who can know what that balance looks like. For some, balance just means at certain times setting boundaries and parameters. You just close the laptop. I don't want to work anymore. And you go to the next task and the next activity. So publish or perish becomes very crucial. Let's be very careful about this. And I still think my question is maybe one which is not going to be answered. Have we really believed a lie about that? You want to say something? You're burning. Yes.
So I think in our case, but when what we want is to get ourselves out there. And the only thing that can get ourselves out there do you make money? How do you make money?
Yeah.
Then values with institutions, go to other institutions, they don't look at the type of journals you get from, but they look at the number of publications for them to shortlist. So publish or perish then applies to say publish more. They will just go on Google
yeah. So the number game is also crucial to address. And I'm glad you mentioned that, but also a developing trend now is no longer about being prefixed on numbers. Two academics met at the printer. One said, I've got 10 papers. Another one said, I've got 15 papers. So who's the better academic? And let's be careful that we think that the numbers attest to being better. You could have 40 papers and somebody's got 6 in and getting more citations and more. And that's just the trend that we are observing nowadays, that having more doesn't mean quality. It doesn't attest to productivity. But what we need is to create, I'll come back to you, a pipeline. And I still maintain that the solution is balance. You could actually find yourself working much better by striking that balance with what you do and in terms of also the expectations around you. I'm so glad also that in some cases, the voice of reason should be senior academics when we go to interviews, Dr. Towns. When we go to an interview, we shouldn't let the meeting be hijacked by the idea of saying 10 papers is better than 5. Let's now start looking at the metrics around those 10. Let's start looking at the metrics around those 5. And it takes the responsibility of senior academics who sit on those promotion committees or selection committees to run away. And I don't blame the HR colleagues, because they probably just have their job description and space. This is what we want. But I'm actually learning that some of the best work I've produced I've come later on in my career, where I've been going fewer articles, but with more impact and more intentionality about what I'm intending on writing. Yellow?
I think it also is the pressure, that the peer pressure of the work environment.
Yeah, peer pressure.
Because if, for instance, your department of law, quantitative and qualitative, then the talk around something like, oh, she's only published, it's a quite 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And then somebody published and even included in a predatory journal.
Yeah.
It talks about that balance that sometimes you may get.
Yeah.
But when you come to the world of work now in the department also, as well as some of the guidance that you receive in this, that publish or perish.
Yeah.
There's also that going to the impression management, that perhaps instead of making research more favorable and being aligned to something that could contribute to the world, but it's put in as a thing of a competition and and don't get threatened.
Yeah.
Then that's where it goes publish or perish. A lot of things go wrong in the process, that it doesn't even accomplish the simple. So I think it also just when you both balance the way you work.
Yeah. The key word is balance. I'm not saying don't publish, and I'm also saying don't perish. I'm saying don't perish as well, but strike a balance between what you want to do. And the time is gone. Colleagues, it's no longer about what is this boys high school stuff? Mine is bigger than yours. No, it's not about that. It's really about saying, you know what, Darlington, I made it into Journal of Workplace Learning. It took me 2 years to get into that journal. And we look at the journal, it's credible. The peer review processes, they're clear outlines in terms of what you're wanting to cover, in terms of post-publication, policy reviews that are coming. That's great. Not just sending to everybody and saying, like that thing of 5, I'll send to all 5. Whoever responds first and the best gets the paper, and the rest will just get rejection letters. It's becoming a common trend, by the way, to do that. From Oni? Who perish.
You were told straight.
Mm.
You see it now, things have changed. Some of this information which come to the opportunity, we never had the opportunity to get those information. So they just publish.
Yeah.
And you are not even guided to say maybe you must publish in your specific area or specific you as you publish everything. You see. So the information is provided is very vital. Because when you were coming up, so all we just wanted to do is we just wanted to
publish. Yeah.
Because you're going to be evaluated based on your publication.
Yeah.
It's about ticking those boxes. How many papers have you published when you go to your issue? They ask you, how many papers have you published this year? And then you need to get those results. You see, so like you mentioned, the pressure, the peer pressure we faced, we experienced. The information which is provided now, when I reflect on myself during the speaking, I said, I wish I could have someone, to guide me, because it was later when I was now there is when I now started, to divert into, okay, this would be the right way to navigate this. So, which is very, 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 very
important. Thanks, Prof. Oni. My prediction is this is going to be with us for the longest of time. And you are going to sit and reflect, Annalisa, 5 years from now when you are an associate professor or whatever, on some of these things. And maybe some of us will be in retirement homes just thinking about our lives and how at least we've stopped ourselves from perishing. Okay, the second one. Okay, there are 7, so this is number 1. The second one is the numbers game. Okay, it's linked to publish or perish. And the question here I ask is, when is too little a lot and too much little? Play of words there. Yeah, when is too little a lot and when is too much little? There's been a move towards the numbers game. We measure how serious you are as an academic by how thick your CV is. How many conferences have you attended? Half of the times you were at the casino in these conferences, gambling away. Anyway, but the crucial thing we want to also emphasize and link to the publish or perish thing is that let's also not get sucked into the numbers game. Numbers game also features in supervision. Okay, don't take more than you can chew. You want to get quicker to the race of being an associate professor, and then I'm supervising 15 PhD students. 15 PhD students. Realistically, how do you give all 15 feedback? And so what happens, there are serious compromises, if you like, breaches around quality control. Yeah. We can't. And even with the honors students, some of you are getting your first honors students to supervise. Let's be frank, don't say, HOD, I want 7 honors students all at once. Get 1. Work with that 1 student. And as a qualitative researcher, I think the important point here is that let's also embrace the beauty about the qualitative experience, okay? Quants is nice. It tells a lot in terms of numbers. Quality is also what we ought to be talking about. The numbers game also features in publications and outputs. Obviously, we've spoken about it with the publish or perish. People want more, to see more. And I think really, I am vociferous and I speak out in an interview or a promotion thing to say, let's look at the quality. a candidate with 5 papers doesn't mean it's poor quality. Let's stop this thing of always thinking the guy with the biggest number of papers, is the best. Let's also embrace that some people who are extremely talented who will go for more because they can do it and they are creative about it. But we need to also be guided. And I think this is also covered very well. Number 3, is there ever anything called the well-rounded academic? And I often get the system is pressurizing us to be well-rounded. What if I'm just a great teacher? And Dr. Towns is telling me, Prof. Chinyamrindi, you must produce these number of outputs in terms of vision. What if I'm just a great researcher who deserves to be sitting at home with a mojito, working on papers, and while you lot are busy marking and teaching? And I know the strain, because a lot of you are one mind, or part of your mind is like with your marking. I know what it's like to teach 200 and odds. Some of you, I taught you in those classes, and I can sit and I know 300 odd students and HODs breathing on me. The marks must be in at a particular time. What we ought to be embracing is the aspect of how do we compliment people because of their natural talent that they've got. Some people are great writers. So why don't we find a way of bringing great writers together and saying, let's find in a department ways of saying the writers focus on the writing while they are working with others, those who teach, and I'll tell you, at some institutions, professors, it's mandatory that they teach first-year classes. First-year classes, in some cases, is reduced to TOTs and early career who are still coming. And it's unfortunate because some of you, your first experience of teaching is going to be traumatic. It's going to be traumatic. 300, 400 students. I remember in my second year, well, not second year, but 1 year I taught a second year class, a very problematic class in Alice. And it was bad. It was so bad that at night when I'm sleeping, they would even call my number and they start playing a song. It was so bad that I would be told, I'm going to kill myself because of you. And my name, they say, my spirit will echo your name in the corridors of the afterlife. I lodged it to you. You're part of the leadership. Yeah. My spirit will echo your name in the corridors of the afterlife. Imagine how traumatic that is. Just because somebody failed a module. So the well-rounded academic, I said it's skirting between utopia and reality. I'm not sure if there's ever anything like a well-rounded academic, but sometimes we need to stop being selfish as academics and find ways to complement each other. So if you're teaching a module, I love what our TOTs have done this year. I don't know, let me not praise them too much because we don't know if there will be output, but they are working on it. I know they are working on papers. I was at a workshop and they said, no, the TOTs have come together and they are writing a paper together. So what they've done is they've identified a community of practice within the teaching. And they also say, guys, if we don't complement the other side, we're going to perish, if that's the correct word. So what did they do? They came together and they started working together to say, let's also write together as we are teaching together. That's the level of being unselfish that we are talking about. But if you're going to surround yourself to say, no, I think really the well-rounded academic is a myth. And I think we need to find ways of complementing each other. That's number 3. Number 4, the implication of the work we do for policy and advocacy. And I say here, we are more than just about making theoretical contributions. What's the one thing that people do in the PhD chapter, the last chapter? The chapter makes an important contribution, which is theoretical. A model is proposed. But I think there's a gap we're missing, which is policy and advocacy. A very few of us write policy briefs based on the articles that we write. And that's where the beauty, Darlington, about the newspapers come in. to be able to translate your thesis or your 7,000 word manuscript into a language that policymakers understand is an art. In fact, you get more people reading the work than the few who just read the work to say, oh, I need to cite some work. So policy implications are really often neglected. We don't write for policy. Like this event we're having, we could even invite a showcase at the end of the year, Dr. Towns, provincial government to say, we want to showcase all the work that has been done by Forte related to local economic development. We've got stalls around, students standing next to posters. We invite the authority figures to say, come and listen and share ideas with us to say, how does our work inform policy? Nowadays, we start talking about what we call imperatives, SDGs, sustainable. I often say to people, if you're waking up at 3 a.m., you should be able to say, which 2 SDGs does your research fit within? If you are not able to do that, then perhaps maybe revisit that aspect, because your work must inform imperatives like SDGs, the National Development Plan, Agenda 2063, African Union, SADC plans, even institutional plans and goals that need to be there. So that's number 4. We are more than just making theoretical contributions. We are also about policy and advocacy. Number 5, being an academic in the digital era, making you work with technology rather than technology working for you, or vice versa. Okay? We need to find creative ways of using technology to help the work that we do. If you're still sorting out references manually, when we've got tools like Mendeley, EndNote, if you're still, remember the table of contents in the Word document, when I kid you not, when we did assignments, we would put the dots ourselves, you know, and sometimes when you print, you would see the numbers snaking. Like, you need to also, academics need to develop those digital skills and digital acumen. ResearchGate, marketing yourself, making as much noise about your work, making as a lot of noise about your work on social media. It's not just about following Gogo Maweni and all the other gogos that are there, but it's also about making sure you are also marketing your work, profiling yourself as an academic. Your greatest cheerleader is yourself. Do you have a ResearchGate account? What are you doing on your LinkedIn profile in terms of sharing your work? And I think it's crucial that we find ways of making technology work for us. There's also a lazy way of trying to do things, the easy way, using technology to do all the work when you should be doing the work. I think that balance is needed. And I think this is something we also learn from our undergraduate students and their experiences. Okay, number 6. As academics and people who are interested in academic writing, we will have to deal with moral and ethical conundrums. And I ask a question here, can we ever be honest as researchers? Well, this person forgot to fill in the questionnaires, the last 3 questions. So I'll just put a little bit of X's so that so on a day-to-day basis, we are faced with those moral and ethical conundrums. I mean, there's a website I advise you to check out. It's called retraction.com. If you get featured on Retraction, that means something is wrong. Retraction is the website where your article can be called back. Say, we're not going to publish. What are some of the reasons for retraction? Plagiarism, fights over authorship. So we wrote the paper, myself, Darlington, and Dr. Rungani. And then myself and Darlington decide to skip Dr. Rungani. And Darlington, no, let's just write this paper. And then Dr. Rungani one day wakes up, bam! She sees Prof. Mrindi and Darlington have written a paper, Dr. Chigori have written a paper together. And then she says, I contributed to this work. How come and what does Dr. Chigori do, Dr. Rungani do? Dr. Rungani can go and say, this work must be removed from the journal. So all of us are going to be faced by those moral and ethical conundrums that we must address. And you know them very well in challenges that even when you were a student. Then finally, and I think this is a nice way to end it off, Dr. Towns, our health matters. And I think it links with the first point, publish or perish. So if you publish, you're publishing for success. If you're perishing, either those two things are perishing, your mental or your physical capabilities. I think we must also be honest that we are more than the papers we write. We need to also acknowledge about our humanity. Okay, we are people, we are human beings. We go through the pulsating moments of the Springboks winning by 1 point. And those moments and what they do to our physique, we go through the pain and the tears and the cries of and the joys and the ululations and the successes that come with those moments. But I want to also urge us, we need to take over our health, colleagues. Yeah, and I'm so glad I see a lot of water around the tables. I don't see Red Bull, Monster, and all sorts of things that we drink and consume in the name of trying to get ahead. Let's take care of our physical health. Let's take care of our mental health. There's a word that I want to teach you all that you can also say. And you know what that word is? No. Yeah, you don't have to agree to do everything. Don't get robbed into every paper. Come, let's do this. You're there. And you know it's gonna keep you awake 2-3 nights in a row, trying to keep up and satisfy people who probably don't like you anyway, but are just bringing you onto that. So let's learn to say no, but let's also learn to take care of our mental and physical health. Let's talk about this one. I've got a question. What have you done in the last couple of days in view of your mental and physical health? Do you know sometimes just taking a break from writing to watch a movie, it just frees you, and sometimes it can even give you ideas. Cycling, going out there, and some people like working in rooms where there's no ventilation. The lighting is poor, all in the name, I want to get ahead, get ahead, get ahead. Let's take care of our mental and physical faculties. Willow?
One thing that students, like sometimes watching something or listening to something that has no meaning. I don't know, I think it has nothing to do with school. That may even borderline of maybe go the border of, okay, this is a crazy show like Jerry Springer. But also like just to calm the mind a bit.
Yeah.
Because you can, that alone gives you some ideas on how to move forward also in the community.
Yeah.
And also in some of the goals that you have set out for life.
Yeah. I must warn about TikTok there. I find this new revolution of academics who, Prof. Woni, they spend 30 minutes writing a paper, 2 hours on TikTok. In the name of I'm refreshing the battery. Okay, and then balance is the first word that we learned. Yeah, find ways of just finding time. And also some of you like to put laptops on your lap while you're working. And the amount of heat that there's some research I saw there, which scary stuff about even the physical effects of that. So let's take time. So in that, Dr. Towns, these are the 7 things I think that are crucial. And I will make the presentation available to the colleagues. Publish or perish, if we believe the lie. Let's be careful of the numbers game. When is too little a lot and too much little? Is there ever anything, number 3, called the well-rounded academic? Is this even possible? Number 4, the implication of the work we do for policy and advocacy. We are more than just theoretical contributions. Number 5, being an academic in a digital era, we must also find ways of making technology work for us. Number 6, moral and ethical conundrums. Can we ever be honest? Please, let's watch out for that one. I think retraction will help you there. And finally, number 7, health matters. Take care of your mental and physical health. We are more than just the papers we are right. We also need to acknowledge and be frank with our humanity as human beings. Okay, I think that's it for me. Yep.